Hi, Jason from Sightsolutions, here again with another video in our Reflow series. In this video we will be looking at how to set up custom pages and some dashboards. The last video we looked at some floor plans and how to add your equipment to that. So without further ado, let's jump in and have a look at how to make some custom pages. Okay, so before we start putting together a custom page dashboard within Reflow, let's take a quick look in my Workbench environment to see how I'm leveraging some data from the desk occupancy sensors that will complement the use of the widgets within Reflow. So looking in the top left here on my Y sheet, I have a Boolean BQL module, which is part of the Vicon Pro palette, and that's just looking at this desk occupancy sensor folder here and going through each of these desk folders looking for true statements. Currently there are 0, so all the desks are unoccupied at the moment, and based on the outputs of these values I'm just doing some quick calcs of total against occupied, and we're looking at a float-in target, so we can then look to change the gauge a different color when we're over 2/3 occupied of that floor. So that's just a brief intro to that and how I'm utilizing that. All will make sense when we pop back over to Reflow. This section down here we will look at in the next video when we come to look at alarms, histories, and some navigation items. So for now, let's go back into our Reflow environment and start putting together our custom page. Okay, so back over in Reflow now, we're in Reflow config mode in our browser. So now we want to go to pages within the Reflow navigation. Let's click on that. Now I've already made one, so let's have a quick look at that, and then I will try to replicate what I have already done, and I'll give a bit of a walkthrough of the elements that are on the page. So let's go into that. So as you can see, we've got a floor 1 dashboard page now. It's allocated to building 1. We've got a building sub navigation menu here, and we've just got a few widgets to complement what we already kind of know from the floor plan, but we can just see everything in a snapshot of that equipment. So we've got a desk sensor summary widget, we've got a gauge showing percentage of desk capacity and how many desks are occupied, how many desks are available, and we then also have a equipment list for the floor fan coil units, a quick link back to the floor plan, and then we have just a couple of temperatures based on the Office 1 fan coil unit 1 return temp, supply temp, just a history chart widget there, and then just a device summary exposing the 3 key points of the air quality sensors in or on the floor. So I will try now to replicate this and just go through some of the items of setup, how we're leveraging again some of that data on the Workbench environment, and hopefully we can see how quick and easy this will take to put together. So let's go for it. Okay, so we want to click Add New Page. We want to be a Reflow dashboard, and we're presented with a blank dashboard page. Now, things to note: the name of the dashboard page will take priority. So just looking at these, the name field is used to identify the page in the Reflow config. If you don't actually fill this in, it will actually stay as that name. So what I want to change this to now is a copy of dashboard, just so I know when I go back to my pages list that the difference of those dashboard pages. So we actually want it to have a title as previous, so it will now overwrite that but still keep its name when it's listed in config. So we'll call that one floor 1, and then we will then go into the page layout. Let's have a quick look in there, and I'm going to keep hero card the same, the theme is light, but now I want to add my sub navigation menu here. So if you remember on the previous dashboard there was a sub nav, and I want to add from building, and as usual And brilliant as Reflow is, you just add those items that are already there. And there we go. I've got my sub nav. No bespoke requirements here. I mean, you can do that and we'll cover that, but just straight out of the box, we've got the option there. Hero subtitle, I'm going to call this one Building 1, just so we know where we are. And I'm just going to keep everything here as default, but feel free to have a play in your own project. User profile access. Now you can restrict access to this page dependent on any profiles that you have set up within Reflow for various access requirements for security. But I'm just going to keep that as default. So let's just start adding some cards now. So I'm going to go for the device summary one now. And I want to keep that as a single and a single height. And I'm going to call this one Desk Sensors. And the equipment type I want are my occupancy sensors. There we go, that's listed them out now, and that's given a nice little scroll. I mean, you can change these to suit. You have double height, etc, etc. But based on the amount of cards I've got, I'm trying to compact this down quite nicely. So we do want to show all devices. I'm not going to get too heavy into these different items, I mean, but have a play with this and adapt this to how you want your dashboard to look. But I'm going to keep that as is. So that's one card added already. So we're off to a flying start. I'm going to add now my equipment list. Let's add another card. Equipment list. And this one will be floor fan coil units. Select the equipment. Now I know on this floor there are 6 that we've added to the floor plan previously. There we go. That one's done. Quick and easy as that. And then I want to add my history chart next. And my history chart, and we'll call this chart Office 1. I mean, obviously you can tailor your history charts to your requirements, but just for the sake of showing how quickly we can deploy information on the page, I'm just going to add fan coil unit 1, return temp, fan coil unit 1, supply temp. Now I'll cover histories in the next video, but as you can see, you can add include comparison data for that. But for now, let's just keep it as a fan coil unit 1, return temp, and supply temp. But let's make that a double. No, not double height. Width. There we go. Double width. There we are. Okay, so we'll keep the time range default of the last hour. And again, feel free to use these on and off items. You can't go wrong. Have a play around with them and see what you can come up with. So we've got our history chart added there. Okay. Now we want to add our link back to the floor plan. So this one is now going to be a hyperlink. And we want to select link to the page in the building 1, floor 1. Here we go. That's linked there, but it looks pretty blank. So let's add a background image. Let's go and find that in our station. And we want first floor 3D transparent. There we go. And then we can also add a button label. So if I add back to floor plan, here we go. Again, feel free to tinker with these items down here, but for quick and speed and efficiency, we've got a link back to the floor plan straight away. Okay, so we've got the vast majority of the stuff on the page. Now here comes the fun part. Now we want to add next a gauge. Now these are not too complex, just take a little bit of time to understand some of the features. Now it's very similar to the dynamic zones that we were doing on the floor plan. So we want to try and leverage some of that data that we've set up within the station. So first and foremost, the point I want to display is the desks occupied. Now let's click on this. Go and find that in my station. Desks logic. And floor 1 desks occupied. There we go. So they're currently at 0, which is fine. Now my lower limit is going to be 0, and my upper limit is going to be 14 currently. Now we want to link that to the Niagara point, because if your project does have an add and omit exercise, or if your project evolves, the site evolves, there might be desks taken away or sensors added. Again, you want to add that to a point, so that will automatically update the widget without having you come back and manually change it. Let's go and do that and add it to that Niagara point as reference for the upper limit of the gauge. Come all the way down to desks logic, and my floor 1 desk total is there. Now I've added that, I now want to display them. So now I can see in my gauge I've got 0 and 14 there. Now let's add an icon, and I'm going to type in, I think it was furniture. So this is leveraging the font awesome pack that comes along with Reflow. So we're going to add a chair. There we go. The card title. See, I missed a step. And it also helps if you can spell occupied as well. Desks. Come on now. Right, here we are. Okay, so we've got one gauge partially set up. Now, one thing I want to try and leverage is to change that color of the gauge after it goes over a certain point. So let's try and replicate that on this widget. So we want our gauge color to not be primary, we want it to be dynamic. Okay, now our color point is based on the occupied. Again, go back to where that lives and come down into desks logic, and that's in there. And now I want my deviation to be 1, because I want it to go 1 over my target value, which is going to be another Niagara point, and that will be, again, let's click on that, go back into the station again, so it all makes sense in a moment. And it's all the way down here. Now I am going to go and double check I've done that correctly now in my other dashboard. So hopefully now that will, once it's the calculation that's done in the back within my workbench, it's basically dividing the total amount of desks available against the occupied value as well, and it's considering that. And what we're going to do, we're going to change the colors when we tip over that amount. So I'm just going to quickly come back out and go back to my other dashboard to make sure I've done that properly. Looks good to me. Just got to double check. Best to double check. So now I just need to change the colors now. So let's go back. If in doubt, have a look about. Right, so let's go in here. Right, which one was that? Desk occupied. And now when I'm within deviation, I want it to be red. Let's keep my station open as well. And then when I'm above, I want to be red as well. Then when I'm below that value, I want to be green. And we'll demonstrate that in a moment. But when I'm 1 over my total, when my occupied is 1 over, or is actually within deviation, or it's 1 over, it'll be red. And then when I'm below that value, it'll be green. And all will make sense. So I'm happy with that. And let's have a quick look down here. Okay, so that's my one widget done. A little bit of thought had to go in there, and I had to remind myself, but it's best to make sure you're correct. Now what I want to do, I want to duplicate this card. We don't have to go through that again now. I want to keep the card the same. Okay. And I'm just going to hover down here now and make sure I'm on the correct one. Yeah, so I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to keep all the values the same, but I want to now, rather than display the amount of desks occupied, I want to display it as a percentage. So if you come to the center text, rather than having the value of the Niagara point, Reflow will automatically work that out for you based between your your lower and your upper limit. So you click percentage, and there we go. I'm just going to change that from desks occupied to desks capacity. Alrighty. That's another one done. And then last but not least, I just want a Niagara point card. And we're going to select. I keep going there for the shortcut, but let's go with this one. It's easier to find. And we're going to choose desks available. I'm down now. There we go. Just got a blank 14 on there now. Let's add our icon in again. No, it wasn't desk, it was chair. There we go. Let's find chair. And then I just want to call that desks available. There we go. So now all we need to do, apart from trying to remember my dynamic coloring and doing that, we just want to readjust these, and then we're pretty much done. We've done a dashboard for floor 1 pretty quickly. So happy that one's there. Let's move our desks capacity up to the top here. Desks occupied. Desks available. And we're actually missing one more. So we now want to add, as I've just remembered, want to add a device summary for the air quality sensors. Go and find those. There we are. And let's make that one a double card. And we'll keep everything as default. And quite quickly, we've gone and set ourselves up a dashboard. And that's pretty much it. Let's just click on this again now. Scroll up. There we go. So one thing that you might have noticed just as I was going back to the other dashboard, just to check that I'd actually got the information correct, it does prompt you when you initially set up a page to kick it out to a navigation item within the global project menu. I did click no, but you can actually come back into the page and activate that. So let's do that. So rather than setting up your navigation, any pages you create, you can just send off to the global link. So let's click on that, and then that's been sent out now. Wait for that pop-up to disappear. There we go, we've got a link there. Now, I will cover navigation and how you can set up your navigation into various groups and keep that kind of linear and clean. So we have the copy of dashboard in the top right hand corner now. Let's go back to the floor plan page now and just add a button back to this dashboard. And that will be pretty much it. We've covered a custom page. As I said, I'll cover navigation, histories, and alarms in the next video. But let's just quickly go back to the floor plan and add a button to this page. So if we go back in here now, you need to navigate back to the floor plan. This page will probably change again. Yep, which is all good. Let's go to floor 1. Floor plan builder. And there we go, we're back in. If you remember now, we're going to use this here. And we want to insert a button. And we want to call it. Now remember, when you add an item, it's going to appear on all of your states that you set up, which we do want because we want that to stay there permanently when we move between them. So I'm just going to call this dashboard page and a little bigger. And we will bring that down a bit actually because the inbuilt reflow menu will be there when we go back. And we want to make an action for that and a hyperlink, which is already there. And then we want to go to the page that we've created. So we've done a copy of one, so we'll go with the original. Okay. And that's it. Let's come out of that. Let's see how that looks on the actual page. Let's go back. Here we are, dashboard page on our floor plan. Click that. That takes you to the dashboard. Okay. And then you can go back to the floor plan as you require. Alrighty. So let's come out of config mode so we can see that dashboard in full effect with the cards in the right places. Now I know I've clicked on copy of dashboard, but that should be all okay. And that's because that one's different from the one I've linked from the floor plan, but you get the idea. So there we go. That's a custom page in full effect. So we can, in a snapshot, see everything that is happening on that floor, and we've leveraged that data by doing some logic and pulling those Niagara points in. So we'll park that one there. We'll look at the alarms in the next video and touch on how to maybe tidy up some of your navigation, and we'll utilize some of the desk capacity to trigger some alarms and how that will look in the alarm console within Reflow. But before we go anywhere, please do leave some comments down below and like and subscribe. And if you'd like some further information on Reflow and any other products over at Niagara Modules, please head to NiagaraModules.com or our website, which is onesite.solutions. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.